What is your opinion then of, because I hate this, but what is your opinion of, you got Seidman, who's claiming the 90-degree thing. You seen that guy?
Yeah.
You seen his whole thing, to stop at 90 degrees for everything?
I knew it was going here.
Everybody watching, he's going to bring it up. So you got someone, I'll just say, that style of thinking for that kind of range of motion. And then you've got the ATG thing, which is essentially, lighter weight, full range of motion. For me, this is kind of where I land. I find myself in sort of a centrist viewpoint with this thing. Okay. I think it depends on the person and depends on the lift. That's where I land on this. I think so oftentimes, especially when it comes to coaches, we were just talking about this, coaches that are creating clout around their training methodology. See, that's something that, here at Strict Vision, okay, if I want eyes on our product, I'll just use what's around you. People can look at the cool stuff on the mirror. They can see that they feel like they're in a comic book. That's cool enough. I don't need to attract people here because I'm doing something weird and whack with my clients that online people are going to fight about. That's never what I want, because I think that comes at the risk of the client's safety. I think it does. And again, I'm not going to pick on Seidman or anybody in particular, but I think when coaches focus on this is my little package, this is what I sell ATG, that's it. And anything else outside of, Ben went on Rogan, and when Rogan asked him, okay, what do you do for recovery? He's like, well, I don't really do anything that much for that.
I remember that.
And remember that? And he's like, you don't do a sauna? He goes, no, because I feel like it interferes with my ATG program. You know what I mean? And Rogan's like, no, I don't know what you mean. and I remember at the moment, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, no, I don't know what you mean either. Why would you do that? He's doing that because he is stuck on that's his program. He's got to sell it. He's got to, that's the end all be all. That's incorrect. I don't like coaches that do that stick to their principle and everyone else is wrong. And that's the way that it is. I think a centrist viewpoint on client-specific movement patterns, and maybe for one client, they have to stop at 90 degrees. Or maybe for a heavier lift, they have to stop around 90 degrees. And then for another lift, if I'm going body weight, they'll go all the way to the floor ATG and back up. I think both can carry over depending on the person and depending on the circumstance.
So to that point, I would agree. And so I understand I understand why Ben Patrick would go about it like that, as far as promoting his business model and everything. Essentially, if you do it my way, then you don't need any of this excess recovery. Then I get it from his perspective, and so it's subjective whether you agree with it or not. Because I still do those various forms of recovery, be it deep tissue or sauna or ice baths from time to time, so on and so forth. I'm not against any of that. When it comes to the point that you just made, I would agree. I think it's important, especially with the current ability level of a specific client, to work with what they currently have with certain movements, say a squat. I remember having a 70-something-year-old client a few years back, and her main thing was just being able to get out of a car properly. So we worked that movement pattern, essentially getting up in a chair, turning, and then squatting up out of it. As accessory movements, we also worked stuff that was a little bit deeper range and had the two kind of meet in the middle. So with your argument of partial and long range having benefits, I would agree. I would say, though, the majority of my training is long range, because I believe for me as a jiu-jitsu or WWE athlete, I do need to chase that strength in multiple different positions and areas, and it's hard for me now to see the way not to. And also, I did the partial range of training for so long, it's like I know it's there, but it's the long range training that I'm catching up on. So that's my viewpoint on it. For your general client, I think it's definitely beneficial to do both, and have, like I said, have the two kind of meet in the middle somewhere. If a client can't reach a full depth squat, be it because of mobility or strength level or what have you, it still doesn't mean they can't squat, but I would still try to progress that down over time, and then try to find other movements that encourage that long range that don't necessarily require the client to stabilize their entire body weight or whatever. And so while they're working long range stuff, even if it's as simple as a hamstring curl or a calf raise or a quad extension, then work the partial range stuff like a squat or a deadlift, so on and so forth. Do both. Both, exactly, because there's so many benefits to doing these various styles of training. I just think that, say, if you're only doing partial range and you're trying to progress strength, say going up super, super heavy on a bench or dumbbell press or squat, and only doing that and being stuck on the time under tension or partial range side of things, I do think that there is a lot of diminishing returns that come to that, because I mean, come on, you think about all the bodybuilders, powerlifters that talk about how tight they are, and so that's where my mindset has changed too. Tightness equates to weakness in many cases, and so it's not necessarily that you're tight, it's just that in certain ranges you're weak because you never trained those ranges of motion, and so that's where you see various crazy pec tears and stuff, because somebody gets very strong in a short range of motion with an incline, but they never train anywhere past that. So as soon as that 500 hits like an inch below where they're used to, then it's snap.
That's why I love things like the Cadillac bar and the Duffalo bar. You know,
Right.
for bench
That's
press,
great.
you're opening up that range of motion just even more than you think. And you get people who will, if I do a video doing a bench press with the Duffalo bar going in, people get angry. People
Really?
get, oh, yeah.
Interesting.